everybody, welcome back to another episode of Crowdfunding Voice, where we're going to talk about some really interesting things regarding Kickstarter and Indiegogo on our show today. Lee, let's get started. Take it away.
So today's episode is, should you use Kickstarter or should you use Indiegogo? Did the chicken come before the egg? In this case, Kickstarter came before Indiegogo. And crowdfunding in this way was originally intended to be used for creative projects. So I would say that from our findings, Kickstarter has a very much stronger community that's been built in, a lot more Kickstarter evangelists than there are Indiegogo evangelists. However, there are many reasons why you would want to use Indiegogo, and we'll cover those in just a moment. But one of the major things I'm liking about Kickstarter right now is their new product rollout of Kickstarter Live. And this is a way to directly engage with your audience, just like Facebook Live, just like Periscope on Twitter, to do a live Q&A session with your backers. And I think that's absolutely fundamental when it comes toward building a community. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, this is a total new innovation. I'm sure it caught Indiegogo a little off guard. We saw no pre-announcement of this coming. It just showed up and was live on the Kickstarter site one morning a few days ago. So this is very new technology.
From a competition standpoint, if you have two players continuing to compete against each other,
me versus you,
Hulk versus Pan,
God versus man,
Slytherin versus Gryffindor.
they're going to keep creating better and better stuff to keep people incentivized to go to their platform. And what we're going to see is that's just going to get faster and faster over time.
So let's jump into some of the differences between these platforms and where we think some of those are advantages and disadvantages.
One thing I really like about Indiegogo is the secret perk feature. The secret perk feature allows you to have a custom code, custom link that people can go to, and they see a very custom perk. So that's what's a perk?
maybe it's a perk.
A perk is whatever the contribution is, what the amount is, and what you get. So imagine this being used for different time zones, different countries. You have a Europe perk, you have a perk for a very special interest group. This really helps with marketing. Mark, is there anything else you like about Indiegogo?
Well, they have a really hip, cool platform. The creator tools are much, much better. You don't want to create a Kickstarter campaign in the Kickstarter application. Their quality, the limitations around fonts and everything else is horrible.
Make sure to use an outside design tool like Photoshop, Canva.com, Illustrator. Design some of the more artistic text and photos that you want to use. Crowdfunding also, these platforms both allow you to use moving GIF images. That's very important for showing certain aspects of your campaign. And then when you're actually using bodies of text, make sure to actually use the text editor on the campaign, because that text is going to be picked up by search engines. So make sure that you have a nice mixture of both images and real text. Not just all images, not just all text.
The one other thing that I think is very important, and Lee, I want to get you to comment on this as well. Indiegogo will charge your credit card the minute you make a contribution.
7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
In the case of Kickstarter, your credit card is charged only when the campaign is completed. And that means, not in the case, as I just mentioned, of Indiegogo, what you raise is what you get. It means what credit cards were charged and who did not cancel is what you get. And we have literally seen campaigns who will close at a number, let's just say $100,000 they raised. But when they get their reconciliation statement from Kickstarter, the first line item that comes out, credit cards that could not be charged. There are lots of reasons why people's credit cards could not be charged. They may have expired, they may have run their limits. Then the second line is cancellations. There are lots of people who get very excited in the beginning of a campaign. They make a commitment for a contribution. Later, they change their mind. Maybe they need to spend the money on something else, especially around the Christmas period. They cancel. Now your second line is dollars of cancellation. Then you get down to the amount that you've actually raised, where Kickstarter takes its 5% and credit card processing of another 3.5%, and then you've got what's left. Again, we have seen reconciliation statements on Kickstarter that have gone all the way from 10% to 40% of the money raised that they will not collect because of the first two cancellation items. Doesn't happen on Indiegogo, but it will happen there. So be prepared for that.
It really boils down to a few things, whether you're going to choose Kickstarter or Indiegogo. How big is your following? If you have a bigger following, use Indiegogo. If you need the help of the community, go with Kickstarter. How much risk are you willing to tolerate? If you have a higher tolerance for risk, definitely go Kickstarter. It's going to pay out in the end. If you don't like as much risk, go on Indiegogo, because if you don't hit your goal, you have an option to get your money anyway on the flexible funding. And it also boils down to, how have other campaigns in your category done on either platform? If you find that Kickstarter is better for music campaigns that are in your genre, go with Kickstarter. If you find that Indiegogo is better for documentaries in your genre, go with Indiegogo. If your technology project has a real working prototype, go with Kickstarter. If it's in the development stages, go with Indiegogo. And that's really about it.
Regardless of the platform you pick, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they both have great track records. They both raised millions of dollars. It's really up to you. It's up to the campaign you create and the advisors and partners that you bring to your campaign to help make it successful. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you visiting the show. And
Stay wavy.
yeah, stay wavy. Come back, see us again next week. Got another great show coming up.